Today we decided to have some fun and we're going head to head. In life, do you do this or do you do that? In today's podcast, we're going to chat about the 10 things people can get very, very passionate about.
You're listening to the Declutter Hub podcast, bringing you tried and tested, no-nonsense tips and advice from the leading experts in decluttering and organising your home. Now here are your hosts, Ingrid Jansen and Leslie Spellman.
Hello and welcome, listeners. I'm Ingrid.
And I'm Leslie.
If you're new to the Declutter Hub podcast, you're so welcome. What you'll find is that we try and find a fun factor in the serious business of decluttering. And if you've been here for a while, you know exactly what we mean. So thank you so much for listening.
If you'd like to get involved in conversations relating to this podcast, it all takes place in our Facebook group. So come and join our lovely, warm, supportive community. To find the Facebook group, go to declutterhub.com/group to find out more. Or you can search for the Declutter Hub community on Facebook.
Leslie, I'm already laughing and we haven't even started the podcast yet. I know which list is coming. And oh my gosh, I think it's where we're going to divide opinions in today's podcast.
I know exactly. I'm really looking forward to it. We were like, you know what? Let's have a little bit of fun. If this is your first time listening to the Declutter Hub podcast, we're sorry, not sorry, because we do talk about sensible decluttering advice, but every now and again, we just want a little bit of fun, a little bit of light-hearted fun. So what we're going to talk about is, yes, things that people get very, very passionate about. And we did have a list of like 30 things and we whittled it down and we decided that perhaps we did need to go home related because there was a whole host of things on there that were nothing to do with decluttering. We're like, maybe it needs to be home related. So we've got a list of things, haven't we, Ingrid, where people feel very passionate about doing it one way or doing the other way.
I know.
We know what we think about it. Let's see. We're going head to head, Ingrid. Woohoo!
I know. And the first one is already, I feel very passionate about this one. So number one is, do you do your toilet roll, the paper, over or under? Oh my gosh, I have strong opinions about this.
I think, go on. Tell us what your strong opinions are, and I'm going to tell you why I think you've got strong opinions about it.
Well, I definitely, this is my opinion. Toilet roll needs to be over, not under, people. When you go somewhere, like in a restaurant or something, and the toilet roll is in the wrong place, I'm like, oh, I gasp. It has to be over.
I think you need to get a life, literally. If you are like horrified by... I would be horrified if there was no toilet roll.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
But like if I went to a restaurant and the toilet roll was in the wrong place and it was going under rather than over, I would not be like, oh, shocker. The toilet roll is not in the position that I want it.
I don't want to touch the wall, Leslie. And when it's under the toilet roll, it touches the wall. I want it to be, I know it does touch the wall, but I don't know. For easy access to grab paper and to be able to rip the paper off, it needs to be over. I mean, I know I have got a hospitality background and I worked in hotels and I used to fold toilet paper in lovely little triangles. I'm not expecting that. I don't do that at home, just to clarify. But I don't know. It's so in my psyche in all the years working in hospitality that the toilet roll needs to be over. And it's so much easier to get the paper and it rolls better.
It does not roll better. It does not roll better. That's a complete lie. How does it roll better if it's over than under?
Yeah, because you can just pull it instead of
trying to... And you can just pull it from underneath as well.
I know, but
okay, if you're saying that you can touch the wall, I can buy into that sort of germ situation, that perhaps because the toilet roll that goes under would fall behind the toilet roll, so it's closer to the wall.
Yeah.
But I think we've got bigger problems. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Right. Wall.
What would you do? Would you have it over or under?
Honestly, I wouldn't even know or care which way I put my toilet roll on.
as long as there's toilet paper.
Yeah, as long as there's toilet roll. Yeah. My big bugbear would be when somebody else has gone in and there's no toilet roll left, and then you go in there and there's no loo roll, right?
Okay,
That's my
that's
bugbear.
worse. Yeah.
Yeah. But then it's interesting, really, because there are things aesthetically in my home that I am quite passionate about as well. So it's not that I don't care, but that's something that I don't care about, which is unusual because I would be, moving, making sure that the soap was facing forwards and all that kind of stuff. So there are, but toilet roll is just, maybe it's just not something that I've grown up with. I've not had that hospitality. I can completely 100% see it in your hospitality background. Does it aesthetically look nicer if the toilet roll is over? Yes. But am I looking at that or looking at it in other people's homes? Absolutely not.
Okay, shall I come clean then now, Leslie? When I'm at somebody's house or somewhere and the toilet rolls the wrong way, I turn it around.
Of course you do. But you do a lot of things weirdly. Like you literally overstep many times when you're out and about. But that's fine. That's fine.
I mean,
Anyway,
it's like when you're in the clothes shop and there's like a shirt on the wrong thing, and you're like, oh, it needs to go there, and I just put it back.
oh my, you've literally got too much time on your hands. What is wrong with you? With you? I just these things, but ironically, there are things, like so if somebody was coming to stay, I would definitely make sure that there's towels on the bed. So it's not that I don't have an attention to detail, but there are just some things that I'm like, life's too short for that. Literally,
Okay.
life's too short.
All right. All
But
right.
anyway, get involved, everybody. We're going to
Yeah.
be putting social posts out this week on our social media, and we want you to answer the question: are you a toilet roll over or under person, and why?
Yeah.
Be passionate about it.
Yeah.
Ingrid is passionate one way. I'm passionate the other way. So there are going to be many things coming out in our Facebook group and on our Facebook page this week, and we want you to get involved.
Yeah. Let's just move on to number 2 because we've got 10, so I'm already sweating, Leslie. Right. Number 2. Okay. Do you rinse your plates before you put them in the dishwasher? So rinse the plates or not? What do you do, Leslie?
Do not rinse the plates. What do you do, Ingrid?
I agree. No rinsing.
Yay, we agree.
I know. Of course, if you've got a big chunk of something left, like a potato or like a little bit, you don't want to put that in. You scrape off like the big chunks. But why would I rinse the plates on a hot rinse in the sink and then put it in the dishwasher? The whole idea of a dishwasher is that you makes dirty stuff clean. Now, of course, I'm not going to have like bunches of leftover foods and I don't know, broccoli or something, whole chunks of broccoli in my dishwasher, because then you have to clean the filters, but which you have to do anyway on a regular basis. But yeah, rinsing is overkill.
Yeah, I think so. And I don't know for definite, but there are like loads of things on like TikTok and Instagram about why you don't need to rinse the plates off.
Yeah.
But I think, this podcast is all about what people feel very passionate about it. And people just can't understand the other, like you can't understand why I don't care about the toilet roll. And I can't understand why you care so much. And it's the same with the dishwasher, with the plates, rinsing or
Yeah.
not. People are like, but you have to. So this is all about habit, right? This is what you've done habitually. And you just can't kind of comprehend that other people do things in a different way because you feel convinced that your way is the right way, which is why we're talking about it.
Yeah.
But I believe that people say dishwashers are designed for you to not rinse the plates off.
Yeah.
And presumably that's why they have like filters in them, because if presumably they wouldn't need filters, would they? If they, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How often do you rinse your filters? I do it regularly, to be fair.
Yeah.
Once a week at least.
Maybe not once a week, but yeah, on a regular basis. At least I would say once a month or so, twice a month. I would kind of whip them out and go. But even more importantly, make sure you check your sprayer arms, because there's people who check their filters, but they never check their sprayer arms that kind of whiz around. If 1 or 2 or 3 holes are blocked because you didn't scrape off your eggshells properly. Now, there is something that is very important. Make sure you never do remnants of eggshells on your plates, because those tiny little egg pieces block your holes in your rinsing arms, and then your dishwasher can't clean properly. And then you get frustrated thinking, but I'm putting it in to get it clean and it comes out dirty. Eggshells is a main contributor to that. I'm very passionate about this, Leslie.
Very passionate about eggshell
But
scraping.
it's true. It's really true because it's so hard and it kind of almost calcifies and it gets really rock hard and then the little holes get blocked and then you got in all sorts of trouble.
And so presumably the rinse arm, you're just taking it off and you're putting water through it. Is that what you're doing? Or do you poke
And
it? Do you find yourself poking the holes?
Yes, with a little toothpick.
Right.
If one is blocked, take a little toothpick, unblock the holes. Your life will be changed because then your dishwasher suddenly works properly again.
I don't think I've ever had an eggshell stuck in my
Oh,
hole.
good. Oh, good.
Thankfully.
Good.
Okay, on to number 3. We feel passionate. I can feel like we're passionate all the time in the podcast, but this one is like super like we're on overdrive, right, Ingrid? So let's move on to number 3.
Yes. Do you wear shoes in the house or not? And if you do wear them, do you maybe only wear them downstairs but not upstairs? Or kind of how does that work?
Ingrid, over to you. Tell me what you do.
So first of all, no shoes at all upstairs. And downstairs, ideally not. But of course, I'm not going to ask a guest that comes in to take off their shoes. Or if I've got like a guy fixing my boiler or something, then they can leave their shoes on. Or if, we have a kind of little outdoor shoes like at the back of the door. But like, let's just say 95%, this is a no shoe house.
So if someone was going upstairs in your house, would you tell them to take the shoes off?
Yes.
You would if they said, "Oh, shall I take the shoes off?"
Yeah.
Do you take your shoes off when you go to a client's?
No, but that's out of safety, Leslie.
Okay.
But if one of my client asks me to take my shoes off, and I do.
Yeah.
But I've been with her for a very long time, and I know her house, and I know, but mainly out of safety, I don't take off my shoes.
Yeah. So I've sort of changed. And so when I was, so I agree, like downstairs, everything's hard floors on purpose, not bothered one bit whether people have their shoes on. If people come into the house, if it's winter and there's, and it's wet and muddy outside, then for sure they have to take the shoes off. I very, very foolishly bought a carpet, which I thought was beige quite recently. And is like, literally white from our whole stairs landing. When it went down, I was like, gosh, that's really very light compared to what I was expecting. Because up until that point, I'd kind of got one that was a little bit forgiving. Because when my kids were little, I was like, I can't be bothered like telling them all the time they need to take them off and stuff. And so I've become a kind of shoes off person. But my dilemma is I've got plantar fasciitis. And so I have to have shoes on all the time, basically, because otherwise it messes with my plantar feet. And so that's a bit tricky. And I also get ready upstairs, and I like to get ready in my bedroom with the shoes on that I'm going to wear out. And so that's tricky as well, because you've already put your shoes on before you come downstairs.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I'd say I'm a bit of a hybrid, shoes on or off. And I might change my mind depending on the way the wind blows. And I think I've got to a stage now with the white carpet where I go crazy at the kids, but I leave mine on. Basically. That kind of like do as I say, not as I do sort of scenario. But yeah, that was all my fault for getting the most stupid, ridiculous carpet ever. Honestly, it's the worst thing ever. Everything that I have been telling people not to do for years from a design perspective, I completely flew out the water, and I've got a white carpet that shows every bit of dirt and it's just a nightmare. But anyway, so I'm kind of a hybrid person.
Yeah. Interestingly, I do have of course, I've got shoes in my bedroom upstairs, but I will grab them and I will take them in my hand down and put them on downstairs.
Right.
I hardly ever put my shoes on in my bedroom when I get ready. That's funny. Anyway, okay, so that was number 3. Let's move on to number 4. When your clothes come out of the washing machine, do you put them in the dryer or do you put them on the washing line inside or outside, like a drying rack or a washing line outside? What do you do? Why are we passionate about this, actually? I am passionate about it, but why?
I think people are passionate about it because A lot of people like the fresh air feeling of washing and feel very passionate about that. I think people are I think people are passionate about the washing line scenario because of the environment, because of the fresh air smell, because of the feeling that putting clothes on a washing line gives you. It's quite a nice kind of feeling. And I think then you've got people like me who are a bit more lazy, would be my where I'm like, yeah, I'll just put it in the dryer. And people feel very passionate about not putting clothes through the dryer as
Mhm.
well. Like, oh, it's going to wreck your
Yeah.
clothes, which I don't really subscribe to. I mean, there are a few things I don't put in the dryer. Of course, there are. There are many things I don't put in the dryer. My laundry room is upstairs on purpose. Do you know what I mean? So therefore, it's a bit of a pain to go all the way into the garden to put things out on a washing line.
Yeah.
Honestly, I use my washing line once a year, if that.
Yeah. Because just to clarify here, Leslie is definitely not lazy, but I think what she's trying to say is that because her laundry room is on the top floor, she would have to go 3 lots of stairs down with her laundry basket to actually put her line out. I think that's what she means, just to clarify, because, we don't want to say that people with a dryer are lazy. That's
Yeah,
not what
yeah.
we're
No, I'm not.
saying
I'm only
here.
talking about myself. I'm not talking about other people. But I think but there is people do different things in different countries as
Yeah,
well. So humidity is going to play a part. Bugs are going to play a part. Where you live is going to play a part in terms of what the environment creates outside. Time creates, there's all of the things that
yeah,
combine that a dryer is a lot more useful for a lot of people.
yeah,
But there's costs associated with the dryer, there's environmental reasons. And so I do think people do feel quite passionate about it or decide to do one thing or the other and feel
yeah.
quite committed to the one thing that they're doing. You're very committed. You've not got a dryer, have you,
Nope,
Ingrid? Yes, you've
nope.
not got a dryer. And I would feel like I'd have my right arm cut off if I didn't have a dryer. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's interesting. But I do use my drying rack in my laundry room because I've got a contained laundry room. It's a hot environment, and so my clothes dry on my inside dryer rack quite easily.
Yeah,
But I know people feel quite, so I do think people feel quite passionate about
yeah,
doing one or the other.
yeah.
And I get it. I get
Yeah,
it.
yeah. I mean, it's interesting because maybe, my mom never had a dryer,
Yeah.
so I'm not used to that. I do love the soft, fluffy towels that a dryer gives you, but
Yeah.
I mean, I had when I lived in Ireland, we rented a house, which was a combination of washing and dryer in one machine. And I still hardly ever used a dryer because it just didn't occur to me to use it. And although in this house I don't have a dryer, I could make space for it if I really, really, really wanted it. But I'm like, I'm just so used to my way. But of course, not having a dryer does mean I have to be more on top with my ironing, because even if you hang it outside, I don't care what people say. If you hang it outside, blowing in the wind or putting it on a drying rack, it needs more ironing than when it's in a dryer and you can easily take it out and hang it up. That's a lot of difference in creases and things like that. So, but I can imagine that you're kind of one side or the other, aren't you? You're either a dryer
Yeah,
person,
definitely.
love it, it's the best
Yeah,
thing.
I think you're right. It's probably a habit thing as well, and what you've grown up with and what makes sense and what budget allows. Obviously there's a big difference. If you've got your dryer going twice a day, every day of the week, that's a big increase in electricity bills and stuff like
Yeah,
that. And so there's different things really. So
yeah,
so yeah, dryer or washing line, let's know.
yeah.
Ingrid, we're gonna
Right.
finish. We
One.
promise that we're gonna make this quick.
Yes, we got
Promise.
one more for the break. And I said to Leslie in advance, we cannot talk about this for 15 minutes because then people are going to tune out of this podcast. And we have got another 5 after the break. So let's go for number 5. The clothes you have worn, do you put them back in the wardrobe or not? So what do you do with half worn clothes? I think we actually have a whole podcast about this if you want to know the long version, but we of course had to include it in today's this or that podcast because Leslie and I do different things.
Yes, we do different things, and we're going to keep it brief and say if you really want to know all of the things about the half worn, which is what they have become known as, clothes, even though half worn is a nonsensical term just in itself. We have coined a phrase ourselves for some bizarre reason. I'm like, if it's good enough to wear, it's good enough to go back in my wardrobe. And what's the difference between a jacket that you have worn that you would put in your wardrobe compared to a blouse that you wouldn't? So I'm like put it back in the wardrobe.
I know
Ingrid?
you. I know you are. And I have some clothes that I've only worn once, and I think, oh, I can wear another 2 or 3 times. And I put them over my banister because it's something that my mom used to do. So I think I just, it's so funny how you only realize stuff later, right? That you think, oh, my mom used to do that. And she still does that. She still has got a little rail somewhere where she hangs stuff over. But when I see one of those suit presses in if I ever they're mostly they were used to be in hotels mostly, but now they're kind of disappearing. But still, occasionally when I go to a client, I still see what I'm like, why are they having a suit press? And I'm doing the same thing on my little wardrobe, on my banister where I put my half-worn clothes, but I'm incensed by these suit presses. So I don't know, Leslie. It's
Different. I think a suit press and a banister is different, right? A
mm,
suit press is there to press a suit.
I know.
It's not just, you mean like just the hanger. You don't mean the ones where it actually presses the trousers, where you just put this a thing that you would put a jacket on, just
No,
to
actually the
hang the jacket
presses,
on.
but they end up being whole suit press ropes, and you can never press actually a trouser because there's 4 jackets, 6 trousers, 12 ties, and everything, pair of boxer shorts flung in the middle. So they become kind of these exercise bike ropes. Same idea, it's a lot.
It is a lot. So, Ingrid, we are going to leave it there. We are going to direct people to episode 132, where we talk about this at length and have been talking about it many, many times in lots of different types of content that we have created over the years. So, if you want to know more about half-worn clothes, go for it, episode 132.
So yes, let's go for a break, and we'll see you after for 5 more this or that things. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to your This or That podcast, the 10 things people can get very passionate about. And we are on number 6. And number 6 is, do you decant or do you not decant your food into containers?
In the same way that I've changed on the shoes on or off situation, I have changed my mind about decanting. But there's a very good reason for that, because now I have a little bit more time than I used to have. So do I believe that decanting is a good solution? For some people, absolutely. And it becomes more and more apparent as we go through life that it's really useful for people who live alone, because sometimes the amount of stuff needs to be kept fresh, and decanting is a way that you can do that over and above the packaging that things come in. So I think it's a really, really useful thing. For many, many years, I did not decant anything because I didn't have the time, the headspace, or the desire to decant into fancy jars. Recently, as my kids have got older and as my time is different, what I can allocate time to has become different, I have gone down a decanting route. So now I do have lovely little glass jars that I use in my pantry for spices and pastas and noodles and stuff like that. So I've become, I quite kind of like decanting now. Do I think it's better than having packets? Not really. Looks nicer. It's just an aesthetic upgrade, really. For me, it's an aesthetic upgrade, which I'm willing to put the time into, which I wasn't willing for before.
Yeah, that was my question indeed, Leslie, because do you like it more now? Is it purely the aesthetic that you enjoy of it? Or are you like, well, yeah, I'm decanting everything now, but I wish I never had took this choice.
Oh, no, I'm definitely not against the decanting side of things. I think it looks nice, but that's all it is for me.
Yeah.
It's just an aesthetic thing. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? I don't think it serves any real practical purpose, but I do see that it serves a practical purpose. People, things like cereal, for some people, if you get you want to buy a decent size cereal pack, and if that might take somebody who lives alone or a small number of people in the home like a month or 6 or 8 weeks to go through. Do you know what I mean? Depending on how often you're using that. And so that can be quite useful in, for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But do I decant everything? Do I decant things like soap powder and sweets and all that kind of stuff? No, but I do some basic stuff, and I do like it.
Okay, interesting. Well, at the moment, I'm in the I am not decanting camp because it just doesn't even occur to me to do it. I probably, knowing me, I probably would be very good at it because I'm quite meticulous and I would like it, but it just never has occurred to me to do that. And I don't mind, seeing my boxes and my packages because my pantry is quite orderly anyway. So yeah, It's for
I
me, it's
think
so
it
good.
depends. You've got like a pull-out larder, haven't you, Inge? Have you got like a big pull-out one, or have you just
No,
got
no,
a
no. But
door?
it's just, I've got a big pantry with a big door. So everything is behind closed doors. I don't have
Yeah,
stuff out. I
yeah,
don't have boxes out or packaging out. I think that's the difference as well. I think if you've got a lot of stuff out in your on your counters, maybe possibly due to lack of space or whatever, then maybe it's more important for it to look nice. Well, for me, everything's behind the door. I can't see it. Everything is quite neat and tidy and organized. So for me, I don't see the need for it. But maybe that will change at some point. But I think a lot of work I see on the socials, for example, a lot of work then goes into finding the perfect containers and making it all matchy matchy and all the perfect labels. And I don't want to spend that time on it at the moment, I
yeah.
feel.
It's a lot of. I mean, when I decided to do it, I mean, it came about as a result of reconfiguring my kitchen because I had always wanted a pantry. So I think it kind of almost needs that big wide open space to really make the most of the aesthetic. It cost a lot of money because I had to then buy like, I don't know, 30, 40, 50. I think there's like 30 or 40 spices, all those need to be bought and they're all, so it was hundreds of pounds to do it. You've got to think about an overstock. Like, so what do you do with the stuff that won't fit in the jars? So it's quite complex. And so basically you need to be quite an organized, meticulous person to maintain these systems. And so if you're more of a chaotic person, then perhaps decanting is not for you. And you just need to keep things simple.
Yeah.
We're all about keeping things simple, keeping things real, and understanding your own kind of habits and the way that you work. And so, latterly it worked for me. And we can change. At the end of the day, the things that we did in our 20s and 30s and things that we do in our 50s and 60s are different because different things make us tick. The makeup of our family is different. The makeup of our home is different. And so we can change over time, but you just need to be realistic in the moment and work out what that represents because it looks amazing. And sometimes people jump on the aesthetic without thinking about the reality of the maintenance of that.
Yeah. Well said, Leslie. Let's move on to number 7. Do you put your glasses and cups and mugs up or down in your cupboards, in your kitchen cupboards? And interestingly, one of my friends a while back sent me a WhatsApp saying, you need to settle this debate between me and my daughter. Do you do your cups up or down in your cupboards? And I went, I do them up, but it doesn't really matter in my opinion. She went, oh, I think she expects me to choose her side.
Yeah, exactly. Why do we think this is? Because this is something that so do people feel quite passionate about it? I think people would look at other people's cupboards to go, oh, that's strange. They've got their cups down. Like when we go
Mm,
to clients, I think the vast majority of people put them up, to be fair, but I think there are people who put them down. And I think that often is about things like bugs and things going into cups. People feel a little bit paranoid about stuff going into cups and things like that. But then equally, I think if you've got your rim down in the cupboard, then your cupboards need to be meticulously clean because otherwise you've got kind of dirt or whatever, germs or whatever, going onto the rim of your cup, which is what you're going to drink out of. And so I think that's, so it's never occurred to me to put them down. But I think it's just you just go with what you've seen. Probably,
yeah,
if that's what your parents did, then you probably just do that. But
yeah.
yeah, but we, obviously, if we're working with clients, then the client wants them down, then we'll put them down. So yeah, and if you put them up, you can stack them a bit more easily.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, I
Or you
suppose you
can,
can stack them on top of each other if they're down as well.
yeah, yeah.
Might be a bit more
I
tricky.
think the stacking doesn't really make the difference. It's interestingly because if I look back at hospitality and all of the restaurants and bars and everything that I've worked in, almost always rims are down.
Yeah,
Because of course the volumes of glasses and cups and mugware is so much bigger, and sometimes they don't always go all the way through at the end, so it also has to do with dust and dirt and things like that. So that's why they've always put the rims down. But at home, where you probably have much lower volumes, things are behind closed doors. A lot of times in bars and restaurants, it's
yeah,
open, so
yeah,
all the staff can easily grab things. But at home, it's mainly behind closed doors. So you probably then, for me, it doesn't matter. I won't be like going, oh my gosh, they've got everything up, or oh, they've got everything down. I think it's like whatever you do makes sense for you. And it doesn't, but some people get really like, passionate about it. And they're like, why are they doing that?
yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'm a glasses up person,
Yeah, me
for
too.
sure.
Next one. Do you have the lids on your plastic containers or your Tupperware on or off? Wow. Yeah, people get very passionate about this.
Yes. So come clean, Ingrid, on or off?
Off, but that is mainly due to a lack of space because we do a lot of kind of home freezing and things like that. And we do like big batches of sauce or things like that. So we have quite a lot of plastic containers and we do a lot of cooking. So we have a lot of different kitchen things. Thank goodness I've got a big kitchen. Well, I mean, not a huge kitchen, but I've got a lot of cupboards. Let me rephrase it. But still, I do not have a separate cupboard for only Tupperware or plastic containers. So it's kind of squeezed next to the mugs and everything else. So it has to be stacked and the lids need to be off. But I can completely understand that people who struggle with lids and things and need to do things quickly are like, I need to make sure that the lid is on the container.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, isn't it? This is a really interesting debate. So for me, I'm an off person because, like you, I've got quite a lot of Tupperware or plastic containers. But I think I would feel that if I had them stacked, which I also see the benefit of that because then you've got the whole container together and they don't get
Yep.
lost. I mean, we all know how plastic lids and Tupperware just lose their partners all the time. Like they just disappearing down in the dishwasher drain or I don't know where they go, but they go somewhere. I think that it's nice to keep them together because then you've got that container, but I think it takes up a lot of space. You can't stack them. Well, you can stack them, but obviously you can stack a lot more if the lids are off. I think it's because I think it might get a little bit stale in the container if it's left for any amount of time. So I think it's going to very much depend on how often you use these containers as to whether you want lids on or off. But for me, it's practicality and it's all about space. And I mean, I've got a drawer actually for my plastic containers. It's completely full, but I've probably got, I don't know, 20, 30 containers in there, in a sort of smallish drawer. And I can do that because I've got lids off.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. But I mean, I know we're not going to talk solutions here, but Tupperware or plastic containers, you really need to, on a couple of times per year, just make sure they find their partner. Does the right lid go on the right container and just sort it through? Because it's a bit like socks. Where do they go? They disappear. And then you have to find their friends, and it's the same with plastic containers, and then it also kind of gives you the opportunity to kind of go through it a little bit and kind of make it neat again to make it easier for your future self to quickly grab a container again. So
every single time I do a Tupperware sort, I have to throw either lids or bottoms away.
yeah,
Every time.
yeah.
Like I never, ever, ever manage to match them all up every time.
No.
Do you?
No.
Never. It's like one of life's mysteries, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know
I
what I
think it's
mean?
because things, when you put them in the freezer, and if it's cheap plastic containers, then they kind of break, and then you kind of defrost them, like, oh, that container is broken, and you kind of throw away the container, but the lid does end up in the dishwasher, things like that. So I think that's how it happens. It's interesting. The mystery of socks and Tupperware has not yet been resolved by us, but we think we know why.
Yeah, exactly.
Number 9, Leslie. Oh, this is one as well. Do you make your bed immediately as soon as you step out of it, or do you let your bed air for a while and make it later, or maybe not make it at all?
So where are you, Ingrid?
Definitely an air the bed person. Very
Definitely.
important.
And I am definitely a make the bed as soon as I get out of it person. So we disagree. We'll have to do a tally and see what we agree on afterwards. But yeah, no, I don't know. I mean, I do get out of the bed and go into the shower, get a shower and then go back and make it. So there is probably a 25-minute kind of before I make the bed, but I'm not leaving it because once I'm out of the bedroom, I'm not going back in that bedroom during the day until I go back to bed. And so it would either be done then or it would not be done at all. Do you leave your bed airing all day or do you? Oh, right. So we should call it like almost like but I bet you straighten it up. So when you air it, I bet it's quite neat, right?
Oh, yes. Oh,
yeah,
yes.
exactly.
So I don't leave the duvet in a kind of a crumpled mess, half on the floor and on the bed. No, it's really neatened up. So I fold it open so also the duvet can air as much as possible and the mattress can air. And then I open a window so I get fresh air flowing. And then, but it's neat. It's not a crumpled mess because that would really that would not, I would not like that.
Yeah.
So
I think it's interesting, you know, because I spent quite a lot of time in Germany and Holland, right, when I was kind of in my teens and early 20s. And I was always like, oh, what they're doing. And so I think duvets, they used to call them continental. In England, they used to call them like continental quilts because we always used to refer to mainland Europe as the continent, right? And so they used to be called continental quilts. Did you know this? Yeah.
no.
Yeah, so like you know, like duvets, we call them now duvets. Oh, have you got a continental quilt? Because I think we were quite a bit like we used to have sheets and blankets all the time,
Yeah.
and then we moved on to continental quilts. And so I went over to the continent in my youth, and then people would take these continental quilts, and like in Germany in particular, they've got a lot of it, and like Austria and stuff, they've got like balconies outside their bedroom, and they would like throw the continental quilts over the side of the kind
Yeah.
of banister almost. And so that was always quite interesting. And I was just like, oh, what are they doing? Like airing. I think we were probably still in quilts and blankets there. Sorry, sheets and blankets maybe. But yeah, so that was the first time I saw the concepts of airing a duvet out. And I think that's still probably the case. And so you've probably grown up with that kind of concept of airing things out. I don't know why it's different in the UK, but I would say that's less prevalent in the UK than it is on the continent where it's like, oh, that's so funny, isn't it? Like, you know what I mean? But that's the way it was called, right, back in the day. And it's like island mentality of the Brits, honestly. But anyway, so yeah, so that's it. But I'm definitely leave it for 20 minutes, then make the bed, because if I don't do it, then I'm not going back in there to do it later.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of people leave it for pets and all kinds of things, though. I mean, it's very contentious, the making the bed or airing the bed scenario, isn't it?
Yeah.
People do feel very passionate and incensed by the idea that you should make your bed straight away. Whereas I'm very passionate the other way, because I think if you don't make it, then you're probably never going to make it. And the last thing I would want is to go into my bedroom at night and get into a bed that's not made.
Yeah.
Or pulled back.
Yeah.
I can buy into pulled back. I can
neatly. But I mean, I completely agree with you, Leslie. I mean, a made bed looks very nice. You know, when
Are you like a cushion person? Have you like got cushions and stuff on your bed?
No.
Yeah, you see, you're not into as much into the aesthetic as I am. I mean, I've got, you know, like things over the thing and cushions that I plump up and all that kind of stuff. So
I couldn't bear it. If I had to do that every day, I would absolutely just go crazy. I see people do it. I'm like, oh, it looks beautiful, that bed. And I'm like, how many pillows do you have to kind of shape and reach? Every morning, you have to pull them in, plonk them nicely, whack them in the middle so they look nice. And in the evening, the only thing you do, take it all. I don't know. I can't deal.
But you can do the toilet roll over.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Do you see the ridiculousness of the things that make us tick and the things that we feel really passionate about? You know what I mean? Everyone's just different, right? So the cushions is not a big deal. It's literally like a 30 to 45-second job, but it's so worth it. Just saying.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad it makes you happy, Leslie. I'm going to move on to number 10. Another one. To iron or not to iron? That is the question. Iron. To iron or not to iron? That is the question. I can't say it.
I know you
can.
So funny. It's just so funny. So we always have this every time we talk about ironing, and everybody would be so disappointed if you said it in the right way, wouldn't they?
But do you iron or not, Leslie?
Yeah, of course I do, but I don't iron everything. I think we're the same with our ironing.
Yeah,
I do. I think you probably do more than me because you're drying out on the line. I can get away with a lot more because I use a dryer.
Yeah.
But I can get away 2 weeks now without ironing. So this weekend is my ironing weekend, sadly. And so I'll go up there but I'll get the whole lot done in like an hour and a half. You know what I mean? Every 2 weeks, that's how much ironing I do. But I'm quite fast.
Yeah.
Because I'm not like super precise. I mean, I am. I'm all right. I'm okay, but I'm not like amazing.
Why does this not surprise me?
Because I just I'm like, as long as it is like nobody's looking at things and thinking that they look crumpled, but I do have to spend like ages like doing all the cuffs and stuff on shirts. A bit, but I'm a bit like, that's good enough. You know what I mean? I'm not really a perfectionist. I'm like, good enough. You know, it's fine. My husband's worked in a corporate job, but like he's not like, oh my God, Leslie, like what's with the ironing? You know what I mean? He does his own shirts, be fair, but you know, and I've never had any complaints. And then my kids are like, nothing, you don't need to iron anything of mine, mum. I'm like, literally, like you can't wear a linen shirt out that's not been ironed. It's just not, you know what I
I
mean? I'm
know.
like you can't wear that shirt out like that. Like, you know what I mean? So
Exactly, exactly. I know. It's I do. I'm like you. I do about 2 hours, I would say 2.5 hours every other week on
yeah.
ironing.
I mean, it is a lot. I can understand why people don't want to do that.
Yeah,
Like, but you
yeah,
quite like it.
yeah.
I do I like it? No, I don't like it, really. Like I'm fine with it, but I
Mm,
don't, some people find it very therapeutic and stuff and just love it and they'll do all kinds of things, socks and there's a limit to us. We
yeah,
don't. It was funny on this so Ingrid did a thing on Instagram, like a reel, didn't you, about folding a fitted sheet. So if you've not seen it, you definitely need to go on Instagram and watch Ingrid's folded fitted sheet. Never had a thought on it, but all the comments, and it went viral, right? And that's because Ingrid had not ironed her sheet, right? And everyone was like, why are you folding it when you've not ironed it, weren't they? And we're like, why would you iron a sheet that you're going to sleep on top of? Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? I don't iron duvet covers either. I just buy the right duvet. If it was one that looked crumpled up, I would, but
yeah,
I specifically buy duvet covers
yeah.
that are very forgiving, because
I
I mean
know.
that's a pain ironing duvet covers. It's like I've got Super King bed that would take like 25 minutes. I ain't doing that.
I've got two duvets that are ironing, and you have to iron them because they're like Egyptian cotton,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
800 threads, something ridiculous. You have to iron them. The rest, I'm like, just pull it, kids, come on, help me. And we just fold it and we kind of do it like that, done. But you know what, Leslie? This podcast is coming out. My son has just left for university, right? He can cook, he can do lots of stuff. And I've been telling him for weeks, I need to teach you how to iron because he loves all his shirts and his things.
Uh,
And he likes it, And I'm like, you are so on your own. How are you going to do this? You don't know how to do this yet. So I'm just waiting for that. I need an ironing board and an iron because I know how he is. So I've already said to him, you need to watch a YouTube video because you don't want to listen to me. Don't want me to teach you how to iron. You're on your own. Watch a YouTube
They
video.
just won't do it. They just don't do it. Honestly, the washing, like sometimes there are many things that I've done okay as a parent, but teaching them to do washing and ironing is just like, I look at them, I'm like, why are you putting black clothes in with white? It's like, honestly, you wait till he comes back from uni and all of a sudden all these beautiful white t-shirts that you sent him with are gray. And you're like, why did you do that? Like just to put everything in together. You can't put everything in together. Like, what is it that you don't understand about not being able to put everything in together? And then they want to keep everything. I'm like, that needs to go in the donation station. And they're like, no, it's my favorite t-shirt. Well, if it's your favorite t-shirt, don't put it in with a black top. Do you know what I mean? Like, you've got all this to come. You've got all this to come.
I know, I
My
know.
kids are nigh on useless when it comes to washing. So much so that I'm like, I just want to do it myself because I can't even cope with them because they might get a hold of something of mine. And the next thing, Steve's got a t-shirt or a thing that I would normally put on the thing and it's gone through the dryer and it's shrunk. Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
that's why I have to maintain control, honestly. And they're never going to learn, are they? So it's a bit of a
Oh,
tricky situation.
yeah.
So what did we agree on? Let's do a tally.
So totally different on the toilet roll.
Yeah.
We're different. You don't care. I'm like over. We both don't want to rinse our plates. So that's good. Shoes on or off. We're kind of like,
Ambiguous. I say we're both
yeah,
ambiguous.
yeah. Your dryer, I'm washing line. We're completely different about the clothes. You put them in the wardrobe. I do not. You decant. I don't decant. We both are glasses and cups rims up. So that's interesting. We both are Tupperware lids off. You make the bed and I air it. Different. And ironing, we're the same. That's actually quite interesting.
Yeah, it's not surprising. And that, Ingrid, is why we are the perfect partnership. We agree on some things and disagree wholeheartedly on many.
Well, listeners, you need to let us know, what are you passionate about? Are you like, my blood was boiling when you were talking about the toilet roll situation, or absolutely not? The cups are down. Let us know. We would love, honestly, we would love for you to tell us. We're going to put, like Leslie said, we're going to put some extra posts out. Tell us, send us an email if you have to. We need to know this stuff from you guys. We love it. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this podcast episode. And thanks for listening in, week out. We appreciate you. So we'll see you next week. Bye, everyone.
Thanks so much for listening to the Declutter Hub podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to us in your podcast player so you don't miss an episode, and we'll see you next week.